Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Wind, the podcast about the Kingkiller Chronicles written by Patrick Rothfuss. I am Leonard and I'm accompanied by my friend Marcy. Together, we discuss one chapter every week. Important disclaimer, this podcast contains spoilers. Hi Marcy, how are you? What's the chapter for today?
Hello Leo, I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good.
Today's chapter will be chapter 23, The Burning Wheel. But first, I have somewhat of a challenge for you, or a little questions. Because you said in the beginning, disclaimer, we will have spoilers. And I was thinking, because, for example, no spoilers for Harry Potter maybe, it's very easy to spoil Harry Potter. So maybe for the first movie you say Professor Quirrell is evil and has Voldemort in his back. Or for the third movie, Pettigrew is the rat, and the Prisoner of Azkaban is actually a good guy. I'm serious. Exactly. So there are many easy ways to spoil Harry Potter. And my question for you, or the challenge that you have, is try to spoil the Kingkiller Chronicles in a few sentences.
Wow, there's not a lot to spoil.
It's hard, right? Because he spoils so many things himself in the beginning. Like he says that he steals princesses, or I don't know, he's with the Adem or Felurian. So you know all of this before so he says it itself. And I don't know, it's still the challenge is for you, try to spoil for someone in a few sentences this book.
It's really difficult because much of what we read is about the journey and not really about what happens in the end. But I will try. I will say it's a guy that tells a story in an inn, and we realize really fast that he has a very exciting future, and he tells about it. And long story short, we realize that he's a really good person with sympathy, and he can do some kind of magic. And with this, he will become some kind of public enemy or something like this. And I guess he will kill the king.
Okay, nice try. I was thinking about this as well, and I don't know, maybe actually the biggest spoiler that I could think of is that Quo's parents will be murdered by the Chandrian, and I know this happens really early, but this is maybe one of the surprise moments that I had. Like, I didn't thought about this and was surprised when it happened. So this is something which could have easily been spoiled for me. But for all the rest, I don't know what... There's not this one event where I thought that, if somebody told me that, then this would have spoiled the situation for me. So I think this is very interesting, that this is not like Harry Potter where you have these twists and some big events, but it's, as you said, it's a little bit about the journey, right?
Also, what we can say, maybe that's maybe the biggest spoiler for me, it's anyway, any good the situation is looking right now, it will find a way to make it worse.
Probably that's true. Okay, should we head to chapter 23?
Yes, the burning wheel, and we get a lot of religious lore in this chapter.
Exactly. So in this chapter, Trappist tells the story of Tehlu, son of himself, came to the world of Tamrind and brought judgment to the world. He freed the world of demons and, most important, of Encanis, the lord of demons. In the end, Tehlu sacrifices himself and binds himself with Encantis on the burning iron wheel. So, what were your immediate thoughts about this?
First time I thought about reading the chapter is this priest is like in a basement and there's a lot of children suffering and being hungry and everything. So I like a lot that he ends up tell a story, because I think it's really good for the people that are here, and it already feels like the children are getting better just because they get to hear a story and are getting like activated. But one thing that I found really funny is the preface of the story is like, it was a bad time in the world. People were hungry and sick. There were famines and great plagues, and all the children here, they are hungry and sick.
Oh, no.
What's new here? That's just my life.
Oh no. Oh no, that's maybe a little bit too real, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of ironic. Oh, For me, I don't know. I don't quite remember when I first time read the story, but it felt like very close to Christianity, like
Yeah,
with
it does.
the woman that gets pregnant as a virgin, and then this kind of Jesus figure who saves the world or clears the world of sins. And
Hmm.
we discussed last episode about how we think if Patrick Rothfuss is religious or not. And after
Hmm.
reading this again, what do you think about his attitude towards religion?
Mm, I must say I was a bit surprised that it's not that typical of a religious story. Most of the time, I think in Western Europe, like with Christianity, Judaism, or we get a lot of Muslim stories too. It's it's all. Maybe people that know a lot about religion will be in pain hearing me, but I think it's kind of the same stories, but from different perspectives and different interpretations. So here it really seems like another story. It's not like the same. So it was interesting. I think Tehlu is more like of a badass god than the god we have in these three religions. They are more like spiritual and stuff, but Tehlu is really like going at it, is fighting, and that's to me it's a new vision on a god. So I was thinking maybe that it maybe does not have too much with Christianity this time. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, it felt very like the Christian tale. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, the connection was still there. But I see your point. Yeah, that it's somewhat of it feels different, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Also, I would like to ask you something before we get into the story.
Hmm.
The priest is in a situation where he gets to tell a story and he has to think about the story. And if you were in a similar situation, do you have an idea what story will you tell? Would you tell something from non-fiction? Would you tell something from religion, from your imagination? Would you tell a true story that really happened?
Actually, I have been in that situation. I was with friends on vacation, and we were in a cabin and did a little sleepover there. And I don't know how it came, but then I started to tell a story, and I actually told a story from the Kingkiller Chronicles. So I don't know if you remember that story, but it's in the second book. It's the story of the boy with the golden screw in his belly button, and he's looking for the reason why he has a golden screw inside his belly button because nobody else has this. And then he travels from town to town and to kings and tries to figure out why he has this golden screw. And in the end, the king gives him a golden screwdriver, and they try to turn it, and then his ass falls off. And this is like a joke story. And this is the story that I told actually. What about you? Do you have like a story in mind or which you could tell spontaneously?
Mm, I think it will be hard for me, and if I don't have something that's coming up to my mind real soon, so I don't think it would. So maybe I would go back to a true story, maybe something that happened to someone close to me or to me. That's maybe interesting, but
Yeah, there are a few stories
mm,
from my childhood that I always used to tell as well. So yeah, maybe everyone has at least one story, like Quoth says when Trappist says that he doesn't know any stories.
mm,
And this line I think is very interesting because everyone knows at least one story. I think this is somehow related or connected to your own story. So everyone can tell the story about himself. This is maybe also in the second book, it is mentioned again, where in another story where some poor guy travels and tries to get food, and then he sits down with a roux, I think, with a idemaru,
mm-hmm.
and they just want that he tells them his story. So yeah, maybe for the room, it's like deep in their blood that everyone knows a story and everyone has a story of their own.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also very interesting that Trappist thinks that he doesn't know any story. It's it shows that he works very much and is not so much out in the world. He is very much busy caring for the children, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, should we get into the story?
Yes.
Okay, so the story Trappist mentioned is, he tells it like it's a true story. He definitely believes in the story, I think. And he says that it happened maybe 400 years ago, maybe 1,000 years ago. So, yeah, 400 to 1,000 years. And this I found very interesting because, again, Christianity, you know exactly when it happened. So maybe it's not quite true anymore, or maybe we are not sure about the exact year, but you're counting the years when it happened. So yeah, we know it's year 2025, and 2025 years ago, I'm not sure if Jesus was born or if he resurrected. But yeah, you're counting. And for me, I found it very interesting that 400 to 1,000 years, that's a big span, right? So
Yeah.
this, what do you have any ideas why it's not so clear if he believes in it, why it's not so clear that they know the exact year when it happened?
Yeah, that's something I ask myself, if like, how is this story viewed in this world? For example, if someone tells a story from the Bible in our world, it's very clear that some people will believe in it, but a lot of people won't. And also the people that believe in God will also say, okay, I'm not so much about the story stuff. I believe in something, but I don't believe in all the stories that are written. But here, I don't know why, but I really got the impression that it tells it like something that really happened.
Yeah, and I think in some way or some version it actually did happen. So I at least believe it. And maybe one thing that is kind of similar or what could lead to this is that we know the Emir are kind of destroying evidence or information about when they were active or what they did. So maybe this is a little bit connected to the Emir, that the story, I don't know, the Emir just are erasing information about this, and maybe that's why the year is not so clear. So this might be the first evidence that the story is connected to the Emir.
Yeah, and I think if you don't take care of it, history disappears really quick. So memories fade away, and if it's not written up, and if it's not like some kind of institution that takes care of the stories, then you can really lose thing that happened in the past. So I can imagine the world doesn't seem too developed, that it's really easy to lose track of time and story.
Yeah, maybe this world is just not good in keeping track of their history. Okay, but also interesting, like if it's 400 years when it happened at most, or at least 400 years, we know that the Emir were around, just to put it in a time frame, around 300 years ago. So 300 years ago, the Emir vanished. And so, as you said, this was a time where demons were around and there were famine and hunger. And I find it very interesting that this seems to be the time where the Emir were there. So if the Emir vanished 300 years ago and this story is about 400 or 1,000 years ago, then this means this is the time where demons and Emir are there. So my question to you is, either do you think that maybe the Emir are the demons? Because we talked about this before, that the Emir might not be good people. They did things for the greater good, quote unquote. And this can always be used to do some evil stuff. Or do you think that the Emir maybe fought against the demons and Tehlu just finished off the big bad guy in the end, and after that maybe they weren't needed as much? Do you think there is a connection, or what do you think?
I was thinking, I don't know how long the Amir have been there before they got banished or they disappeared. But I was thinking maybe it's a follow-up to this story. Maybe the Amir have something with Tehlu, and maybe after Tehlu is over with his human life, maybe he lets the Amir behind, something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be. For me, I think that because there are not only demons in this world, also the people were not good, right? So Tehlu says that all the men were wicked people. And I think at least this could be connected to the Emir. So that Tehlu or the church, that people didn't think well of the Emir maybe as people do today. I'm not sure. But I think there's definitely a connection.
Yeah, I will be open to know more about that, but I think it's very tough to see something in this story about it.
Yeah. Okay, so as we mentioned, there are some demons around, and I don't know if you still remember, but it's oftentimes mentioned that there are demons who took the man's body over or got into their skin and acted for the people. And actually, in the second book, there are some creatures exactly like that. So I don't know if you remember, but there is, I don't know, one soldier or maybe two walking in, and they are very strange behaving and laughing and talking in a different voice and then attacking Quoth. And this were skin dancers. So it seems to be that there are some creatures from the Fey world, I think, who actually really can take over a body and just take over the body. And this seems to be exactly what was at the time here. So did you have this in mind, or?
No, I didn't remember about that, but it makes a lot of sense that some people stay the same, but they switch name within their span. So maybe 400 years ago they were called demons, but maybe they're just some furious creature, and that's what they always were, but the name changed that we had for them.
Yeah, probably. But it's interesting. It seems like back then the world of the Fae and the world of humans were more mixed up than it is now. Yeah, just some nice notice here. Okay, do you want to start with the story and tell us a little bit what then actually really happens in the story?
Yes, I can do that. So there's one woman in the village that is not as wicked as the other people. She prays every time for others and not for her, and she tries to do best, and she has the good values that most of religion want people to have. So sometimes Tehlu comes to her in a dream and tries to speak with her, and she tries to beg for her neighbor, and maybe you can help her. And at first Tehlu is disappointed that the people are doing so bad because he created a good, fair world and human did bad. And she tells him that it's not that easy to be a human. So he wants to check for himself, and he makes himself a baby in her womb. And sometimes after that, he gets to life, and he develops really quickly. After a few days, he's already 17 years old, something like this. Some kind of magical stuff.
Yeah, so it took like 3 months, I think, the pregnancy, and then, the first day he already crawled and then stood up, exactly.
And the people in the village are interested in the boy and they want to see him, and at some point there's some kind of big meeting with all the people in the village and the boy. That's now Tehlu, and he looks like a 17 years old that's really mature and like some kind of finished body. And he tells them about all their sins and all the wicked things that they do, and he say that there are two paths going forward. You can follow my way or you can follow your way. And both of the way are very similar because in both ways you get hammered on by Tehlu. But in Tehlu's way, afterwards you get a new name and you're getting embraced by Tehlu and you're following Tehlu's way. And most of the people agreed to Tehlu's path, and they're saying, okay, I will try to repent, I will try to make everything better. So they get hammered down, but they then get a new name, a new life, and they start trying to do better in their life afterwards. And Tehlu is going from village to village and is bettering the world with this path. And at some point, most of demons are gone, but it's still one left, Encanis. And Encanis is a really dangerous demon. It goes from city. At some points, it really can destroy city in one night, and it's over. and Tehlu follows him, and he catches up slowly, and at some point he catches him, and he wants to put an end to Encanis, and he gives him a chance to talk and to repent and to go the Tehlu's way, but Encanis doesn't want to, because he says everything what that does is things that his people does, and that's a very normal thing to do for him, and he doesn't regret anything. So at some point, Encanis is about to get freed, and Tehlu sacrifices himself to make Encanis die. So both of them die. Did I miss something important to you?
No, I think you got everything. Yeah, thank you for the nice recap. So let's start in the beginning of the story. So the child is born from a dream. Yeah, he got into Periel's dreams and impregnated her from there, maybe. And I found it interesting that this could be real, or this is something that can happen in this world, because Quoth seems a bit different from his parents, right? So his father even said, "Did you lay with a god one day?" Or he asked his wife, have you laid with a god?" And we know also that there are some strange dreams. For example, Fella has a dream of some king locked behind the doors of stone. So maybe there are mightyful people that can access people's dreams. And yeah, this could be a theory that maybe Quoth was born also like this.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting one. And also I would be very interested in what kind of entities have access to dreams and can have some kind of influence on them.
Yeah. Also, Quoth had some strange dream about this. I don't know if you remember when he was alone in the woods and still grieving. He had some strange dreams that felt more real than just dreams. So dreams might be something more powerful in this world than we only get to read in the front. At first
But
time.
also we must say, for creative writers, using dream is a really easy way to get away with stories that we have trouble to get anywhere. So maybe it's just something that was easier to do than something else.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, one other funny thing: when the people got in front of Periel's home, Menda goes out, and it is said that this was the first time he had ever spoken. And I know that he was only some, I don't know, maybe 22 maybe 2 spans days old, but he was a 17-year-old man at that point. So imagine that you have a child that grows up very fast, and then he learns everything so fast, but then maybe when he's looking like 10 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, he still has not spoken a word. And then you have sometimes a 17-year-old inside your house, but he doesn't speak anything. So this I found very funny that this was the first time that he had spoken.
Yeah, I wonder if she didn't think of something. Oh, maybe he has a problem. Maybe I need to do something. But I guess Periel was really confident about this on having a very precise job to do, and maybe she didn't really care about how much he spoke until then.
Yeah, definitely. But I just found the idea funny that there's somewhat of a strange man in your house and he never speaks. Okay, then, I don't know, later he says that both paths leads to death, except everyone needs to die except one. And probably he means himself, right?
I didn't hear it, sorry.
So later, as you said, Tehlu says that everyone has to die except for one. And I just found it interesting that probably he means himself, but then later in the story he also dies, but says that he will come for people who will say his name. I just found it interesting that, yeah, everyone needs to die except for one. And we know that the Chandrian Haliax also doesn't die. He came to life, and Salitos tries to kill him, but he cannot kill him. He said that he will come back. I just found this wording and this idea of dying and everyone has to die very interesting.
Yeah, I'm very sure that Tehlu means himself in this moment, because he knows that his human form is now dead, but Tehlu is not dead as a god. But maybe if we were to think that Tehlu always says exactly the truth, so that means all people that don't die maybe stems from Tehlu too.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Also, I think more likely for the Chandrian, who seem to be immortal, or also the fake creature like Bess is a few hundred years old, or Felurian seems to be immortal as well. So it seems maybe not everyone has to die, but if you go for like an infinite timeline, then yeah, maybe some accident happened or somebody killed someone, and yeah, even they have to die. Like, yeah, I think Valoran is a good example. Like, she seems to be immortal, but maybe she has to die as well. And
Yeah, it really sounds like they cannot die of their own, but you can bring them to die if you do the right thing.
exactly.
I had a question for you about the beginning of the story, because Tehlu tells that everyone is so wicked and everything is so bad and everything. And I was asking myself, if Tehlu was in our world, how wicked do you think he would find the people?
That's a good question. Because there's, yeah, horrible stuff going on in this world. And probably where we live, we are lucky enough that we don't encounter too much of this. And I think what really comes to truth here is that people get more wicked when their situation is bad, right? So I think, yeah, we are living in Germany, and I think have quite high standard of life, of living. So there is not really a reason to be wicked or maybe selfish or to take advantage of other people, because you don't need to. You can have a good living without it. And maybe in other part of the world, of course, I'm not there. I don't know how it really is, but I can imagine that it's easier for people to get wicked if you kind of depend on it. Or what do you think?
Yeah, the condition of life I've been thinking a lot about too. I think for the life that they seem to have, they don't seem too wicked, because if you have this kind of life, then it's clear that at some point something in your mind will break more, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was thinking in our situation, I was thinking most of the people I know or something like this, I think maybe we are too wicked for the life that we have. We're not that wicked actually, but for the life that we have and all the privilege that we have, maybe we could be less wicked for it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's interesting how this is, could be reflected to our world. It's a good question. And I think something that also a lot of Christians or Muslims ask themselves, how would they be maybe judged if Judgment Day comes? And this is something that I think many people can relate to. Okay, so back to the story. We see that 7 people stayed on the other side when he first offered them to take his path. And I just found it interesting that it's 7, because we know that there are 7 Chandrian, and it seems to be connected here, right?
Yeah, but in this case, I really think it's like they find it funny that it will be 7 too. I don't really think that there's a meaning to it, right?
I think in this story that it's just maybe that people know that there are 7 Chandrian, or they hear the story about these 7 evil people going around the world, and then when people were telling the story, it just made sense for them that of course there were 7 people on the other side. So I think it's still connected, but I don't think that these first 7 people were the Chandrian.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I think it's symbolic, and I think if you have a religion, you have to do a lot of work, like keeping the stories real for the people. So when you do a shootout to another story in one story, then you take the opportunity every time.
Yeah. Okay, and then also what I found interesting is that when Encanis is again described, he also is, of course, described with a face which was all in shadow. So again, very close to how Haliax is described.
Mhm.
And he goes around the world, and at the end of 7 years, he destroyed like 6 cities, if I
Yes.
remember correctly. And this is also very close to the story that we will hear later when Scabi tells a story about Mirtarinial and how Lanre destroyed, I'm not sure if he destroyed 6 or 7 cities, because we also have a version of the Adem, but this is something that we need to look out, and just found it very interesting. Also, I think it's not exactly these cities, maybe it is, but yeah, just again, this connection here is seen as well.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's also amusing because the seventh city was saved. Tehlu comes at the right time, and Encanis cannot destroy the seventh city, and they say that it's why 7 is a lucky number. And it's funny because we had at the beginning a 7 wicked people that didn't want to go Tehlu's way, and now we have 7 as the lucky number.
Yeah, and again, maybe this is also symbolic for the contradiction that the Chandian might be not so bad, because Chan we hear means 7, and of course Chandrian is related to the number 7. And if it's a lucky number, then I don't know what the Chandrians are. So yeah, might be symbolic that maybe they're not that evil as it seems to be.
Also, it seems like the first time that it really makes sense that the span is 11 days, because in our world we have a week that's 7 days, I think because of Christianity and because of God in the 7th day, I don't know. And here it seems like the story with Tehlu is exactly 11 days, so it makes sense that the span is like their go-to time measurement.
Good point. I didn't notice that. Yeah, but it makes totally sense. Yeah, in Christianity, it took 7 days for God to create Earth, and here in this story, it takes 11 days for Tehlu to
track down Encanis.
Exactly. And also, it's related to the last week's chapter where they played this game where Tehlu frees the city of demons and Encanis. This game that they're playing.
How similar do you think the Encanis that saved Quoth in the last chapter and the Encanis of this story are?
I think they're very, very different. So the Encanis of last chapter, he was really the nicest guy. He wanted to help this child and gave him a coin and gave him his gloves, and he really, really cared for him. And this Encanis here does not care for anyone else.
Yeah, I think that the most different characters we have in the world book.
Okay, so in the end, I think it's in the city of Atur where Tehlu finds Encanis, and this is very interesting because there was the Aturan Empire, and the Aturan Empire fell for some reason. I'm not sure right now why, and this is also a question that Master Lauren asks Quoth for his admission. Why did the Aturan Empire fell? And I found it very interesting that maybe this event that happened here has to do with the Aturan Empire to fall. And maybe it's also again connected to Emir, because let's maybe assume that, I'm not sure, but maybe the demons are the Emir. And in this event, the Emir, the big Emir guy, maybe was taken down or got judged or something. And this is where the Emir got banished. And this might be related to the fall of the Aturan Empire. Maybe it was held by the Emir somehow, and this event could have caused the fall of the Aturan Empire. And we know, or we assume, that Master Lauren is connected to the Emir as well. And maybe he asks this question to Quoth to test him about this. I just found it very interesting that we have this connection about the Aturan Empire here in this story, and also later with Lauren when he asks Quoth.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't catch that when I was reading, but it makes a lot of sense that it's correlated.
Yeah, and if I say that the demons are Emir, again, this doesn't have to be, but it's just that the story gets mixed up with many other stories maybe. And from the timeline, I think it fits. And yeah, I found it very interesting that in Atur something happened, the Aturan Empire fell, and the timeline fits that yeah, the story happens maybe a few years before the Emir got banished.
Hmm. Also, one thing that I really that I really liked in the story is Encanis is a really powerful demon, right? He can burn down a city in one night, everything. But he's also so weak to iron that's such a pain to be this powerful, but to have like some kind of big Achilles heel. That's iron is such a common thing, right, in this world. So I thought it's really really bad for him to have this weakness.
Yeah, I think this is also just general writing. The more powerful you make a character, the more he has to be senseful for one weakness. So, yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
you make someone really, really powerful, there would be no way to kill him, right? But maybe there's
Mm-hmm.
this one way, and with this one way, it's really, really easy to catch them. I think this is the
Yeah.
balancing of creating bad guys.
Yeah, I have been thinking also about game balancing, and I was thinking every time in a game balance that you make something that's really good on one aspect, but you have to do a big weakness to draw it back. Most of the time, these things are not fun to play and are breaking the game because they are way too strong in this case, and they can compensate for their weakness most of the time. So it makes sense that Encanis also drives a lot of control and is nothing for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, also it's just the connection again that Fey people are also weak to
Mm-hmm.
iron and Encanis is as well. So maybe I think it's again this connection that back in the days the Fey world and the human worlds was just more mixed up and probably Encanis was a Fey creature.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's something funny. I don't know if you play the Pokemon games, but there's a fairy type since the sixth gen in Pokemon, and guess to what they are weak.
Demon type?
There are no demon types in Pokemon.
Iron type?
But there is not iron, but there is steel, and they are
Okay.
weak to steel.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's funny that there is this similar idea in Pokemon.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if it's in other stories as well that fairy creatures are afraid of iron. I'm not sure. I don't know. Also, I did not play this generation of Pokemon. I played Platin and Soul Silver.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my times.
Yeah. So and also we know that in the time where Patrick writes, there was not this Pokemon generation at this time. So we know that he
He didn't
the
get his
weakness to
idea from
iron.
Pokemon.
Exactly. It predates the fairy
He
weakness
was your
in
first.
Pokemon. Hmm. So maybe Pokemon inspired themselves from Patrick Rothfuss. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah. So as you said, that Tehlu binds Encanis on this wheel, and this wheel seems to feel like how the gilder of an Arcanist feels, like this pain of frost or like the sting of 100 biting flies. It is described. It seems
Mhm.
like connected to the gilder of an Arcanist as well. The sensation
Mhm.
seems to be quite similar. And
Mhm.
yes, in the end, Encanis dies together with Tehlu.
Hmm. Also, I was thinking something. We have in the Christianity there's this cross, like the cross where Jesus was crucified, and it's really a big symbol of Christianity, like this cross. And here there is a wheel. So I was thinking maybe if there was some symbolic in the Tehlu religion, like some kind of tattoos that you have when you're really religious, maybe it will be this. What's the name again?
Wheel? The wheel?
Wheel. Yeah, this big wheel.
Yeah, I think later in this book, when Quoth faces the Drakus, he also kills the Drakus with this big iron wheel, and I think this iron wheel hung on the church, so it's definitely a symbol. I think it's hung on a church, and he bounded it to the Drakus, to the iron of the Drakus, and then it fell on the Drakus, and that's the way he killed the Drakus, and it's here in the story later, Quoth is very much connected to Tehlu, how he destroys this demon with this iron wheel. And this
Yeah,
is
that's interesting.
this is how legends are made then, right? So something happens and it's related to some religious story, and I think Quoth could be easily seen as some prophet after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you tell the story twice, then it's already a bit changed, and if you tell the story 1,000 times, so maybe it gets as epic as the story that we have today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In the end, one last thing that I have highlighted is here that Trappist says that is why the Talon priests wear robes of ashen gray, and that is how we know Tehlu cares for us and watches us and keeps us safe from. And then he gets interrupted, and I found it interesting. What would he have said? That what are they are being kept safe from? Is it still demons? Are there still demons in the world? Is it maybe the Chandrian? I don't think that he would have said that. But yeah, I've just found it interesting that he got interrupted in that moment, and I would have really liked to know what he would have said.
Yeah, most likely he would have said demons because it's part of the story, but I think it's a funny thing to let it free because most of the time people that read a book have fun imagining the stuff. So when you let something empty, people can think freely about it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, then Quoth, I think, mentions that there might be the possibility that Trappist is a Talon priest and that his robes are ashen gray. And I think it fits, right? So
Yeah.
Trappist seems to be very, very, very selfless and cares for the others. And he seems very similar to Periel and doing good. And maybe it is because of the Book of the Path and that's the reason why he acts this way. But no matter what the reason, he is doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's interesting because he's not in an official church and is not really part of Tehlu, but also everything make it look like it's part of the Tehlu church. So it will be interesting to know more about his life and how it ended up like it is. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure we get to hear about him ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also not sure. Yes, we do hear about him again. Quoth visits him again, actually, after he gets some money, and I think in the second book, in the end of the second book. Because in the end of the second book, Quoth is like rich, a little bit rich. He gets a lot of money. And I think he goes to Tarbin and visits Trappist, and he does some chores and carries some water or something, and also gives him some money.
All right. Do you have anything left in the chapter? Because I'm really happy about what we tell from this chapter.
No, I don't have anything else. So I told you that we don't have prepared a Who Said It today. And I just have a fun question. So the question is, what Kingkiller Chronicle character would you text if your life depends on it? So they have to respond within, let's say, within 15 minutes, maybe let's say 30 minutes. And if they don't respond, you die. And if they respond, you get to live. But you're not allowed to tell them, oh, here's an emergency. But you just say like, hey, what's up? Or how are you? And yeah, he has to respond. What character would you think would respond most likely to you?
So at first I have to assume that all of them have some kind of smartphone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I need to think about which one of them will use it enough that it's very probable and somebody that will answer to. So we are looking at some kind of golden retriever energy right here.
There is one character who is, I think, very much a golden retriever, but yeah, maybe I will let you figure it out.
Yeah, I was thinking about the friends from university, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the name right now. Simon, right?
Yeah, Simon is the one who is more a golden retriever than Will.
And I don't know about his personality, but maybe it could be a lot of in smartphone, like every one of us. What do you think?
I think Simon might be an addictive person. Yeah, he might be addicted to his phone.
Did you have another answer for you?
Yeah, so my answer is, if I know Dana, then in the first few days, I think she would text really, really quickly and really, really happily. But after you dated her maybe 2 or 3 times, then she would never write you again.
Yeah.
So depending on what state you are with her, maybe this would be the right answer.
I think Rose doesn't answer a lot. I think Rose is very busy with his whole thing, and he only answers when he needs help from you.
Definitely.
I think maybe if you read the writing to what's her name again, the girl that
Debbie?
gives money to, yeah, I think you can get her to speak really quick if you're talking about money.
Yeah, I think actually Debbie might be a really, really good answer because she seems to be very lonely and she seems to be always very happy when Quoth comes and she's always disappointed when it's just about business and she really likes talking to people. So I think, yeah, maybe I would pick Debbie now that you mention her.
Mm-hmm. And if all people have a smartphone, do you think Ori still doesn't have a smartphone because she's so much different than other people?
Yeah, I don't see her using an iPhone or a smartphone. But if she had one, I think, yeah, she would get carried away and lost and she would leave it in a corner and don't think about it for a few days. And then she picks it up again and sees that she got a text message. So I would definitely not pick Ori.
Yeah, she will hear that there's a text, but she thinks, no, the smartphone is at the right place right now. I cannot touch it.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So Simon, Devi, and maybe if you meet Dana for the first few days, then those are good answers, I think.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the answers.
Okay.
My life is safe.
Okay. Yeah, it was a pleasure again. And I think we're done for today, right?
Yeah, had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.